Let's move on to another topic that is a topic that actually I've wanted to talk about for quite some time. Machine Head received a very bad review from a publication or an outlet, whatever you want to call it, called Metal Forces Magazine, which I believe is an outlet that's been around since the early 80s. And they received an absolutely terrible review. It was actually a pretty brutal review, to be honest with you. And the band responded accordingly, as you see on the screen, telling them to go F themselves. But before I read into that, I just want to let you guys know this is an episode I've wanted to do. I wanted to talk about how bands deal with criticism. So this is a perfect way for me to be able to do that. Now, I do want to tell you a few things before I, preface this by telling you a few things. Number one, I am not a hater of Machine Head, nor do I really like them. I typically would not talk about them or really review any of their albums because they play a brand of heavy metal I'm just not into. It's not that I think they are bad, but the type of heavy metal they play is not a style of metal I typically like. Therefore, I have my own rule that if I'm not into that kind of heavy metal, or if it's a band that I know is big and has a big following, but they aren't a band I'm really into, I tend to not review their music because I don't think it's fair to the artist to review bands that play music I generally, like a subgenre of heavy metal that I generally do not like. Now, I have all the respect in the world for their success. They have a huge following. I have a lot of respect for Rob Flynn and where he's taken that band. So just want to let you guys know that I'm neither a huge supporter or a hater. So I really don't, I'm really pretty much unbiased when it comes to this take. I also want to let you all know that I, as a musician, have been praised in reviews. I've also been ripped apart in reviews. I've also been a music critic for close to 30 years, and I've been a publicist. So I would say that that qualifies me to talk about this subject and talk about why their response was bad. So let's get into this really quick. So let me read the review for you first. Metal Forces put up on a post, "Never has a band sounded so sanitized and soulless, which is saying something when you consider how bad some of Machine Head's discography is." 3 out of 10. And Machine Head shared the post and told them to go F themselves. Now, to their credit, they did take it down, I believe, but that was their initial response. Folks, that response from them is a terrible way to handle a bad review and to respond to it. And somebody probably told them that because they ended up deleting their post. I'm going to give you 4 reasons why this is bad. And folks, I got to be honest with you. I'm actually quite surprised a band this established would flip out like that publicly about a bad review. Because you know what they should have done as far as how to react to it? They should have ignored it. They should have ignored it and went about their day. Now, I understand as a musician, you spend months, sometimes years, recording and writing an album, only to have someone take a dump on it after listening to it for 10, 15 minutes. I get the frustration. I understand why they would be pissed. But here's the thing that any artist, anyone that's in any kind of art, as a photographer, because I'm a photographer as well, as a musician, artist, whatever, you have to surrender to the fact that art is subjective. And you are always going to have people that are going to praise you to high heaven. And you are always going to have people that are going to tear you apart and take a shit on your album. That's just how it is. And once you accept that, reviews like this typically won't bother you. I'll give you an example. The last Empires of Eden album, the newest album, Guardians of Time. I recorded a song on that. I actually helped to write and record a song in that album. There were outlets like KNAC, and others that really praised and loved the record, praised my vocal approach on the song that I recorded. And then there are outlets that completely tore the album apart and actually tore every vocalist a new one in the review, including myself. Can't please everybody. That is how I look at it. I'm going to give you 4 reasons why a response like Machine Head's response to this review is a very poor way to handle it. And I'm going to give you one way to actually respond to it, but you're responding indirectly. You're not responding to the review itself. So let me talk about the 4 things that are bad. First of all, when you share something like this and flip out about it, as soon as you do that publicly, and if you have a huge following like Machine Head does, every single troll, every single person that doesn't like you, anyone that's jealous of you, anybody out there looking to kick someone when they are down is going to be attracted to that post. They are going to comment on that post, and it's going to drive that crappy review up in the algorithms. Let me repeat that. When you respond like this, you are going to get a ton of people who dislike you that are going to go into the comments, troll you, looking to kick you when you're down, jealous of your success. Anybody you could think of that doesn't like you or just hates themselves and hates life is going to go into that thread and start bashing you even more. And then that bad review will get magnified because the more responses it gets from you, especially someone with some of the someone who has the following that Machine Head does, it's going to drive that review up in the algorithms. Number 2, if these people, if you look at the review, they don't really generally seem like a publication that likes most of Machine Head's material. So the thing is, when you're a band that I believe has a bigger following than somebody that's a publication, why would you want to give them any publicity by flipping out about it? Because Machine Head has basically given Metal Forces some free publicity for bashing their record, which also drives the responses and the views on Metal Force's site way up. So Machine Head is actually helping somebody who completely took a dump on their record by by sharing that post. Why would you want to do that? If they don't like you in general and they don't like your album, why would you want to? You shouldn't put them out there and give them more publicity. The third consequence of it, let's say this is a publication that seems to have supported you in the past. When you put that up there, and let's say this publication's pretty well known, let's say, they reviewed your albums in the past and they gave you all good ratings, and this is like the first one they didn't like. You're really kind of burning that bridge a little bit with them. Again, you should ignore the review, move on with it. And lastly, reason number 4 is that people are going to see that response, and it is just a bad look from a professionalism standpoint. Now, Machine Head has a pretty big following. Obviously, you are going to have no shortage of promoters looking to book them for shows because obviously they can make money off of a band with their following. But it still looks bad. And you never know what bridges you may burn, possibly, by putting something out there like that in public. Even if your band's well known, there might be somebody that could have helped you or helped your band a lot that might see that and say, you know what, if those guys can't handle some minor criticism, why would I want to work with somebody like that? There are people out there that will think that way. So I understand why they would be pissed. You work hard on a record. You work months, sometimes years, spend a lot of money to record it, only to have some publication shit on it. I get the anger. But this response by them is absolutely stupid. Now, how do you combat this? You don't combat it by sharing a post and flipping out about it on social media. The way you combat it is something I have mentioned in other episodes. Because obviously I went and Googled reviews for the Unatoned album by Machine Head. And there were a lot of great reviews. What they should be doing is sharing all those reviews and highlighting them. Regardless of if that publication has 1 follower or 1 million, you just saturate social media with every positive review that you receive. It'll pretty much drown out a 3 out of 10 review from a publication that doesn't seem like they like your stuff anyway. That's how you combat that. That is the professional way and the logical way to deal with that situation. A couple things. First, I went and decided to check the album out because if it got such a bad review by these guys, I wanted to hear, is the album that bad? So I went and checked Unatoned out. And to be honest with you, I don't even listen to the kind of metal that Machine Head typically writes, and I would never have given it that bad of a review. It definitely is no 3 out of 10. But within that kind of subgenre of heavy metal that they play, I'd probably say it's at least a 6 or a 7. Again, not my thing, but there are some pretty decent songs on that album, especially for someone like me that doesn't listen to the kind of music that they make. Again, I neither like or dislike the band, but their response was absolutely ridiculous. Now, lastly, I'm going to end this segment off with this. I am going to talk about music critics. And if you are a band or if you're someone in Machine Head, you probably know this. Maybe you don't. But I've been around 27 years. And critics will say and do things for different reasons other than music. So let me explain this. Some critics will give an album a great rating even if they don't like it to curry favor with a record label or a band, or they want to make friends with bands. Some people may, for whatever reason, may not like the record label you're on or are pissed off and will leave a bad review. There are a lot of people that are really not honest with their opinions. Maybe Rob Flynn has a hater that's there. Maybe someone he met 20 years ago. Who knows? But I can tell you a lot of reviewers and what they write are not necessarily very honest in their opinions. They just aren't. And I tell anybody that if you want to be someone that reviews heavy metal, talks about heavy metal and talks about music, you can't be in this to make friends. Now, granted, I've made friends over the years. A lot of you know who those friends are. But you don't do this if you're not here to make friends. You're here to give an honest opinion and an honest take on things. And not every critic is going to give you their honest opinion. Some of them will. I know quite a few that do, but there are also quite a few that do not. I want to throw that out there, folks, because you have to take these bad reviews with a grain of salt, ignore them, and anybody who praises your band, highlight their positive review. Again, it doesn't matter if that publication has 1 follower or 1 million. You want to highlight anybody praising your work. So, again, I give all the credit to the world to Machine Head for taking that screenshot or taking that post down. I believe they have. But folks, if you are in a band, this is not the way to respond to a critic or a review that you do not like. Ignore it. Post the positive reviews and pretend that bad review does not exist. Hey everybody, Tony here from the Metal Command podcast. Again, I appreciate your support. Since 1998, I have hosted this show in one form or another, starting off in radio and now in the podcast format. Again, thanks for watching, and if you like what you see and hear on this show, by all means, please hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell to be notified anytime I do post a video, and if you see this program on any other form of social media, please give me a follow there. Again, I always appreciate your support.